Last night on the big game, a man named Viffer took control of things early.
Any kings will do, but two of them are better.
And increased his stack the rest of the night.
I am so outclassed here.
The loose cannon tried to prove he belongs,
I grind harder than you guys do, trust me.
but made a misstep versus Barry that put him in an early hole.
Nice hand.
See if Troy can recover and continue his quest for riches on the big game.
Now we're playing some poker.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Welcome to Las Vegas and the biggest game in town. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose, where tonight some of the world's best poker players continue to battle it out in our state-of-the-art poker room with $800,000 in play at this table.
The millionaire entrepreneur Rahim is playing a lot of pots, but no positive results yet. He's down $23,000.
Chau Giang, three-time bracelet winner. He's struggling, hasn't won a pot so far.
Poker legend Greenstein started off slow, but picked things up towards the end. He's up $22,000.
David Viffer Peat had an outstanding evening last night. He is up almost $67K.
Troy Howard is the loose cannon who's been staked $100,000 to play. He's a 29-year-old music producer from Niagara Falls, New York, who's been playing Hold'em for over 10 years. So far, he's down over $24,000.
And tonight's final player is the magician, Antonia Esfandiari, who is stuck over $25K. He is standing by with Amanda Leatherman.
All right, Antonia, what are your first impressions of Troy, the loose cannon? What do you think?
I think he plays better than I thought or had hoped.
Yeah?
He seems pretty confident, you know, but he decided to take a bad hand and try and run over the table with A7. So, you know, people not with a lot of experience tend to do that. They tend, you know what, I'm going to go for a bluff right now, whereas a more experienced player will wait for the right time to make a move like that.
Right. And I have another question for you.
Sure.
Why no shoes? This guy never wears shoes.
First of all, I like it when my feet breathe, you know?
Yeah.
They're more comfortable, and I do have shoes. They're just underneath the table. We were on break, so I walked around a little bit. So.
I never see him in shoes. Anyway, get back to it.
All right.
Each loose cannon is staked $100,000 to play and keeps all money above the initial $100,000. And the loose cannon who's won the most money at season's end earns that North American Poker Tour passport worth $50K.
Troy's chasing Nadia Magnus for that passport, who is currently the leading loose cannon at over $63,000 in winnings, but he's probably looking to get positive before he sets his sights on her. We get back underway with hand number 30.
How about a live straddle? You want to re-straddle for 16?
What's that?
You want to re-straddle for 16?
I already looked.
Oh, that's a convenient excuse.
All right, well, I'll restraddle then.
That is not a restraddle. It is a min raise to 1,600.
You have to wonder if Troy raised because he liked his hand or because Rahim talked him into it.
Viffer calls. Action folds over to Chau Giang. Ace Queen.
On Tom Gamble, let's go. Gonna take it 16.
Chau just calls. Pocket jacks for Rick.
I'm going to raise the max. So I'm going to call the 16. All right? Make that 16, and then I'm going to pot it.
Raised to 8,800.
8,800 on top?
72 more.
Okay, 72. 72. Now, it's not this bet you should fear. It's the bet on the flop. Is that a tell?
Rahim's reputation as a maniac should garner him some action here.
Let's kick it up a notch.
The loose cannon calls.
With the straddle on and the two least experienced players at the table, 10-8 suited looks like two aces to Viffer.
I just need two double ups.
You just need two double ups?
That's it.
What if I felt you?
That's not a double up.
Oh, we got a pot.
Viffer calls. Chau folds.
We got a pot. Good luck, Troy. Good luck, Rick.
Rooting for Troy.
Not rooting for you, Viv.
I'm about to, I think.
Yeah, you probably are.
Troy just called off 10% of his stack with ace-9.
Deuce 4 queen.
I'm going to bet
Rahim's jack still good.
20,000.
Rahim bets 20 grand.
Chau Giang folded the only hand with a legit chance of running down two jacks, and he would have caught up on the flop.
Howard folds.
There was no king on the flop, so I know I'm good this time. Any king I was folding.
Should be more worried about the 4.
Oh, I can beat a 4. I hope you have a 4, and I hope you call with it.
If I had a 4, I'd probably call.
Nice.
And Rick finally takes one from Viffer.
2-7, is it on?
2-7's good too.
Deuce 7 had me beat.
Nice hand, Rick.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Eric.
Horrible hand. Very horribly played.
Rick's needling may have contributed to Troy's pre-flop call. Now it's almost certainly contributing to Troy's tilt.
Well, here are the rules of the big game. Each table lasts exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante. The player on the button will ante up for the entire table. Each player begins with at least 100 grand, but can reload for up to 500,000.
All right, Chau, it's me and your turn. We got to get in there and fight.
Trying to win the first pot, buddy.
I've been throwing jabs out there. You know, you got to get a feel before you...
So far, Troy's done a little more than $33,000 worth of jabbing. Let's hope he'll have enough strength left for the haymaker.
Barry folds. Antonio as well. Ace-6 for Chau.
I'm trying to win the first pot. Can do.
Raises to 1,500. Queen-6 suited on the button for Rick.
Chau's got Rick dominated.
I haven't played a pot with you yet.
No.
If I call, will you play nice?
It depends where the flop comes.
Okay, I promise you have the best hand.
Rick calls. The loose cannon folds. Viffer's in.
You have the best hand?
Yeah, what you said.
I don't know. Let's see.
I just called you because of position. Not because I think I can outplay you or anything.
8-10, 4, 2 diamonds on the flop.
Top pair and a flush draw. Viffer's flopped the World's Fair.
You
Bets
are right.
2,500. Chau folds.
That, boys and girls, is a lesson on how to waste 1,500 bucks.
I tell you how to win the pot around here.
The Vifster. It's so weird when they call you David, you know?
The question is, does anybody else look like one?
I feel sorry for him if they
David
do.
Peat. You actually do look like a David Peat.
A David Peat?
Don't look like a David. Throwing the Peat part, I agree, you know?
David Peat does not have 2 first names. He spells it P-E-A-T.
Suited connectors for Chau Giang.
Well, try again.
One more time. 3rd time's the charm. Oh, wait, it's 2.
Raises to 1,500.
I should have tried last time.
Rick folds. 10-4 suited for the loose cannon. Folds. King Jack for Viffer.
All right, Barry.
I can give it a Chau.
Folds.
He's my buddy. I'm gonna let him have it.
Here you go, the first pot.
Chau wins.
There you go, baby.
Yeah, let's see the hand, Chau.
Show us the hand.
He's too strong. He is too strong.
I don't know, 2 in a row?
So on hand 34, Chau finally breaks through to win his first pot. The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, where the big game has been treating Viffer very nicely so far. It's a feeling he's gotten used to whenever he hits the Vegas Strip.
My name is David Peat, known in the poker world as Viffer. I feel very lucky that I happen to be good at a game that allows me to make money. I mean, it's a great lifestyle. When I first moved out to Vegas, I came out here to play poker. I was very conservative, and as I started to make more money, I started to go out. Got introduced to the Vegas nightlife, which is great here, and you have a lot of fun. If you have money in Vegas, you get the best tables, you get a lot of publicity at the clubs. They make you look important, they make you feel good. There's been nights, you know, where we've spent more than some people make in a year. A lot of times it's an event. It's a lot of fun.
To be honest, a round of drinks at your typical Vegas nightclub costs more than most people make in a year.
Good point.
He straddled 8, right? So I can go 16.
Little bookkeeping to take care of. Chau Giang straddled to 800. Rick Rahim re-straddled to 1,600. So action on the loose cannon, who folds. Viffer, 9-8 suited. Calls.
Suited connectors on the button look pretty good in a juiced up pot.
Barry calls. Antonio's out. Chau, King Deuce. He was the original straddler.
Chau, Chau.
Play nice. Don't get greedy.
Chow.
Do not get greedy.
Okay.
Chau
What
calls.
he says.
Rahim, ace 4. Checks.
Not as nice as last time. Still a pretty strong hand, though. I mean, if you're gonna straddle, you want cards like I got.
4 to the flop. Tray king, king. Trip kings for Chau.
I'd most certainly want to have the cards Chau's got. He's basically flopped the entire table dead.
Barry bets 3,000 with his 3s.
Barry might think his pair of 3s is the best hand.
Chau just calls. Rick folds.
If I had a king, I would have raised.
And Viffer's out.
There aren't really any draws in this flop, so once Chau calls, Barry's spidey sense is probably tingling.
Really? That would have been the right raise, too.
The turn, 10 of hearts. Barry checks. Chau checks.
Chau's hoping to rope Barry in any way he can.
4 on the river. Barry checks. Chau fires 6,000. And Barry folds.
You know you have a king.
I had ace 4. I think my 4 was good on the river.
Well, here, I think I'm playing tight. That's the
You are
best.
playing tight. Look, you're playing the nuts. That's all you play.
2 in a row for Chau.
King deuce, baby. It's calm. That's straddle good, baby. It's worked pretty
Now
good.
let's start playing.
Hey, Troy.
Yeah.
I know you can rap. Let's hear something. Let's get it pumped up in here.
Oh.
Come on, don't be shy.
Rap about how you're gonna double straddle this hand.
I double straddle, jump on like a saddle, put my money in there, don't be a baby with your rattle. I'm the man, freestyle, the top of the head, north side, 1,000 block. You heard what I said.
All right.
Pretty good.
Yay!
Pretty good. Baby.
You can straddle for 1,200. You don't have to make a 6.
That's pretty good for a guy being stuck and doing it.
Yeah, right. Well, if I was up, I'd already be rapping.
We're trying to get him in a good mood, you know?
I'm in a good mood. I can't be all,
Poker player needs chips to be in a good mood.
I'm trying to be impressionable, or whatever you call it at the table, but can't do a lot of talking when you ain't catching a lot of hands, You got to think a little bit. Try to outplay these fish.
You think Troy's life story would be called Pocket 8 Mile?
M&M's coming up next week. Viffer's raised to 2,500.
2 double ups, you'll get 1.
Suited connectors for Chau, who's on a winning streak in the big blind, but he gets rid of it.
King deuce and call.
Decides to tighten up again.
I just want you to know I'm too dumb to fold. I'm gonna defend my straddle every time.
Good news.
Just so you know. So if you think you're just gonna move me off of it, pick another player.
Viffer does not want to move Rahim off.
The flop misses both.
Don't tell me that's a king. Okay.
Rick checks. Viffer checks. Trey on the turn, which would have given Chau a straight.
Rahim's picked up a gut shot.
Go ahead. I'm gonna check raise.
Rick checks.
Viffer's ace high is still the best hand.
He fires 3,000.
You need to come from behind, sir.
Rick calls.
You got me beat?
Last night, Rick folded an open ender and an overcard. Now he's calling with just a gut shot.
The river, 7 of diamonds.
Go ahead. I dare you to bet.
Rick checks.
Okay, I check.
Nah, you still win. I got 10 high. I had a lot of outs. None of them came.
All Rick's talking doesn't seem to be doing him any favors.
In the meantime, Viffer adds more cash to his kitty.
And the stats show that after 36 hands, he's at or close to the top in all these categories. Viffer's VPIP shows that he is getting involved in over half the hands. He's raised pre-flop 25% of the time, and he's won a staggering 83% of his showdowns.
3 huge reasons why Viffer is up nearly 70 grand.
Now you can straddle for 8. It's cheap.
Here's what I'll do. For the great rap, I'll give you a free roll on the straddle.
Now you can double straddle for 16.
Yeah, now you can straddle.
I mean, I give one free roll.
9s for Viffer.
And I'll take that. I'm not like him. I'll take that.
You're not like, what's that
No,
supposed to
him.
be? Oh, okay.
He said he would. Barry said he wouldn't take the straddle.
Raised to 2,500. Pocket queens for Antonio.
Last night, Antonio mentioned a fear of commitment. Let's see how he handles these ladies.
A re-raise to 9,500.
Oh, come on, I was calling 2,500.
9,500 is the bet.
Oh, man. I was calling 2,500.
All right.
Rahim folds. The loose cannon.
Deuces are better in here.
Pot it.
Straddled his hand. But he's not going to stick.
You have a lot of money, right?
Both players are deep stacked enough that Viffer's got the right implied odds to call.
And he does. Come on, Antonio, this is exciting. Stay up for it. It's pair versus pair.
I knew you were calling, I would have called.
4, queen, 4. Antonio flops a full house, but the action starts with Viffer. He checks.
Board may not look too scary to Viffer, but he's going to check to the razor.
Antonio fires 14 grand.
14,000.
Antonio's trying to build a pot and wants to make this look like a continuation bet, but it is a very big bet. So Viffer may read this as complete confidence from Antonio, especially since there was the re-raise pre-flop. Viffer has to decide if maybe his 9s were no good to begin with.
Good laydown.
A little misdirection with a smaller bet may have built a bigger pot for the magician.
Despite that, Antonio does pick up some cash. Viffer avoids some real trouble there, and as usual, Antonio does well with the ladies. We are coming back to Las Vegas for much more of the big game right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the big game. Quick reminder, you'll also be able to find stats for every hand of this table, as well as bonus footage and clips deemed too hot for TV on the website. Hand 40 out of 150, Esfandiari calls with a pocket pair. Chau folds. Rahim's in. The loose cannon on the button, trying to kick it into gear. Let's see what he's got. That'd be not much.
You can't win if you don't play, man.
Yeah, that is just not even good enough.
Rick's got a point, but he's playing them all, and he's losing more than Troy is.
4 players to the flop as Viffer called and Barry checked. Trey 6 deuce.
Barry Greenstein flops the nut straight.
Viffer checks, Barry checks. Esfandiari bets 2,000.
Antonio's got a pair and a gut shot.
Rahim's out of here.
Viffer's got top pair.
He calls. And Barry just calls.
With this flop, there isn't much of a chance of someone drawing out on Barry, so he's going to slow play the nuts.
7 of hearts on the turn. It goes check, check.
Does put some bigger draws out there.
Esfandiari bets 5,600.
5,600.
Viffer folds.
Barry's still got the nuts, but if Antonio is drawing, Barry's going to want to make him pay.
Greenstein raises to 15,000.
Barry's raising, hoping whatever Antonio let out with was good enough to call with. Antonio may see through this, though, since Barry overcalled the flop. A veritable blank hit on the turn, and now Barry's check raising. These are all very strong moves. Both of which may be too strong moves for Antonio to call with just a pair and a gut shot.
And Antonio does fold. So a decent-sized pot picked up by Barry Greenstein.
Given what Antonio was holding, I think Barry got pretty close to max value on that hand. Must be because of his lucky cufflinks.
Or perhaps because of Antonio's unlucky red shirt.
His unlucky chest hair.
We're back to the grooming kit now, huh?
I don't think
Chau straddles to 800.
Yeah.
Rahim makes it a double straddle, so the action begins on the loose cannon.
I can straddle for more.
Troy folds.
Troy's getting visibly frustrated.
Suited connectors for Viffer, who raises to 5,100, and pocket rockets for Barry.
With all the straddling and re-straddling, Barry will get to play a bigger pot with these aces.
Re-raises to 16-2. Action folds around to the double straddler.
I was calling your 5,000 without hesitation with these cards.
Rick folds. So now back to Viffer.
7-6 suited is one of the best hands mathematically for trying to snap off big pocket pairs, but with so much pre-flop action, effective stack sizes have been lowered, and he actually has worse odds to call.
Viffer does fold.
Barry manages to pick up a nice little pot without even having to see a flop, thanks to the straddle and the double straddle.
Well, that pot puts Barry up nearly $35,000, and Joe, he's starting to get things going.
While Barry is just 4th at the table in pre-flop raising, you can see that he's using his position extremely well when he decides to raise. Barry is at or near the top when it comes to his button and check raising numbers, just as he did there. Barry's play is somewhat predictable, but is nevertheless still very difficult to combat.
Rahim is straddled, so the action begins with the loose cannon who folds. Viffer raised to 2,500. Action folds around to Chau Giang. King tray suited, folds. Rick calls.
Easy to look like I'm slowing down when I ain't caught a card in an hour.
Hard to catch cards.
Believe me, when
You only get 2, and they have to be good, you know?
They have to be over a 5, though.
The flop, 7 queen 7. Rick checks.
Have you looked yet?
Oh, I could easily have a 7, man.
All right.
Viffer checks top pair.
For all we know, I could have queen 7.
Queen 7 would be good.
Rahim's now turned to pair. With Viffer checking the flop, he might think it's the best hand.
This is the patented Greenstein move.
Rick fires 5,500.
Greenstein, not to be confused with Greenstein. Totally different guy.
Viffer calls. The river.
Kind of like your hand. You always seem to get the best of me.
Deuce of hearts.
Did you raise me with 7 deuce?
Rahim's still reaching for chips with the worst of it.
Makes it 8,000.
Now you have a hand.
It's a defense bet.
All right. See, this is a bad call, actually. I think you have me, but I probably have the best hand.
Yeah, it is. I got a jack.
It's a good call.
You got a queen, you win. Good hand. I can't beat you. I don't know why I try.
Nobody can beat the Viffer. The only person that can beat the Viffer is Viffer himself.
Well, also, Rahim just value bet a hand that will almost never be called by a worse one.
So Rick Rahim continues to spill chips all over the table, and the Swaviffer has been there to clean up his mess, this time to the tune of more than 33 grand. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back to the big game. Chau Giang has struggled so far, which belies his usual reputation. The 55-year-old Giang escaped Vietnam in the 70s, started working in this country as a dishwasher, and excelled at the game of poker rather quickly. He's won 3 World Series of Poker bracelets and amassed over $3.5 million in tournament winnings.
Chau's been playing in the biggest cash games for longer than most people's entire careers.
The Viffer.
I just want king 9 or better.
I like apple strudel.
Viffer straddles to 800. Barry folds. So's Antonio.
Chau Chau.
9-8 for Chau.
Oh, come on.
Raises to 2,000.
Chau's decided to widen his range on the button.
Oh, man.
Rick with ace-8. Small blind.
Rick's actually got someone dominated for once.
Called.
I want him to win a pot, so he'll start straddling. So I'll give him a little money now. These are what you call boomerang chips. I throw them out, but they come back to me eventually.
Troy folds.
Crickets on that one.
I know what that's like. Viffer, the straddler, calls. So 3 to the flop.
7 deuce deuce.
How about 5-9 deuce?
Chau's flop top pair.
Check.
Rick checks.
5,000.
Viffer bets 5 grand.
Viffer's trying to steal this with a donk bet. He doesn't put a 9 in Chau's raising range. He might think he can get away with it because Chau's been playing so tight. Chau doesn't seem to be deterred.
Nope, he raises to 12,000.
I knew going in if I didn't nail the flop, I wouldn't have a chance.
Rick's out. So now back to Viffer.
Viffer's trying to figure out what hands Chau could be confident in on this board.
Viffer comes over the top to 30 grand.
3-4.
By raising Viffer's flop bet, Chau opened himself up to the 3-bet.
What is it? 30?
I think I started with 200.
Huh?
Started the hand with 200.
Now you bet.
Chau also seems to not be able to give Viffer credit for a hand on this board either. If Chau does make the call, it'll be for almost 18% of his stack.
Okay. Total 30, right?
Chau calls.
Viffer can't like that call. He's got no pair and no draw.
The turn. King of hearts.
Viffer's probably wondering if Chau would fold to a bet on the turn if he called the flop.
Viffer checks.
Chau's trying to decide if he should bet, and specifically if he can get Viffer to fold a better hand than his.
All right.
Chau checks. The river, and Viffer hits his queen.
Pretty unlucky for Chau.
Viffer checks.
All right, check.
I have a queen.
Queen? I can beat that. I know I tried
You have
to
two
bluff.
aces.
Huh? I know I tried to bluff me. I don't know I check. Queen, right?
Wow.
Viffer wins a pot of nearly $70,000.
Nice river.
No river and no fish.
It has shifted from kings to queens now.
Pretty good read from Chau, just got kind of unlucky on that river. Chau's been taking a beating this whole session so far.
I check my turn. But dude, no doubt in my mind, my hand is the best.
Viffer's got Chau talking to himself as Chau's stack is getting smaller, while Viffer's is getting larger. In fact, let's get you all caught up to date on some of the money matters here at the big game. After Viffer gets rescued on the river, he's up almost 100 grand, while Chau is down close to 50. Meanwhile, the loose cannon, Troy Howard, is at a $36,000 loss right now.
We're about a third of the way through the 150 hands for this table, and Troy is almost our biggest loser. In poker, chips are power, so the further he slips, the more he has to rely solely on the cards.
Barry Greenstein having a solid run, looking at 4 high and gets rid of it. The Magician's out. King 10 for Chau.
I ain't no doubt in my mind had to beat.
I know, you called.
I'll make a bad check on the turn, by the way.
Chau raised to 2 grand. 6 deuce for Rick Rahim. Calls on the button.
Why not?
Troy, 9-8 offsuit. Folds. Viffer, Jack 7 suited. Calls from the big blind. 3 players to this flop. 4, 5, 7, 2 clubs. Viffer checks top pair. Chau checks.
Somehow Rick Rahim has managed to flop an open-ended straight draw.
And bets 6,000.
6,000.
Viffer's top pair is still the best hand.
And he quickly calls. Chau folds. Down to the 2 good friends on the turn. Jack of diamonds. Viffer with 2 pair now. He checks, so does Rahim.
Rahim tends to bet when it's checked to him. Viffer was probably hoping for a bet there.
Queen on the river. Viffer's hand still best. Bets 10 grand.
Ah, damn queen, huh?
Wrong read, right laydown.
Nice attempt at a value bet from Viffer, but we know Rick was beaten by even an 8 high.
I'm not messing with you if there's a king or a queen on the board anywhere.
I would recommend not messing with Viffer if there were ace through deuce on the board.
I will say this, I am a very lucky man.
Lucky to be playing on the same day as a millionaire action junkie who plays every pot and never hits his draws.
Action starts with Antonio.
I shouldn't have checked the turn. That was my mistake.
You might not have liked it if you bet the turn.
Aha, turns out he did want him to bet the turn.
Action folds around to Rahim. 6 deuce, folds. Troy Howard, the loose cannon, on the button. King 10, raised to 1,200. Viffer folds. Barry Greenstein, 6-5 offsuit.
Barry's reaching for chips. He'll be happy to play a pot with the loose cannon, even with unsuited connectors.
42, I think.
42.
A re-raise to 4,200. Troy calls.
Good luck, Troy. And Barry.
No, you got to root for Troy.
Barry's out of position, but he did make a habit of putting the pressure on the last loose cannon he played with.
9 ace 9 on the flop. Barry first to act and fires 5,000.
We know Barry missed, but we also know he continuation bets 100% of the time. Let's see what Troy knows. It's tough to withstand the heat when you get re-raised pre-flop and then bet into.
Troy's coming over the top to 10 grand.
It's a min raise. We'll see how Barry interprets it.
Barry folds, and Troy shows.
Woohoo! Troy Burger.
We just see a bluff?
We sure did.
But he had a king.
It might have been a bluff with the best hand, though.
There was going to be a king on the river.
I thought it was.
Nice hand, Troy.
He could have been bluffing with the best hand, though.
Does he get a book for that or no?
Troy's book will be called Ace on the Flop.
It all depends on if he had the best hand or not, though.
I guess so, right?
I thought I had the best hand. I just, you know, Barry scares me a little bit.
Good play.
Oh, boy.
The old min raise bluff. Now the game's on.
Game on.
Troy puts the table on notice. Find out if he can keep the ball rolling when we come back. Welcome back to Las Vegas. David Peat, a.k.a. Viffer, has been killing this table, mostly through skill and partly by luck. A few hands ago, Viffer rivered Chau to win a nice pot, and afterward, he allowed us inside his head to go behind the poker face.
Leading up to the hand, I'd been up quite a bit of money. I've been playing a lot of pots. People think I'm really aggressive and play a lot of hands, which I do. Chau is a relatively tight player. He's a very, very good player, but he doesn't play quite as many hands as other people do. Chau opened raise. There was a few colors. It wasn't much more for me to call. I had queen 6 off. There was a few players. I decided to call and take a flop. The flop came down 9-5 deuce, which is like a pretty harmless flop. I decided to lead out. Chau raised me, and I thought he would raise me with any overpair. So I decided to re-raise him. At that point, when I re-raised him, I'm representing 2 pair or better, and I really expected him to fold at that point. He didn't, and he called. And my plan was to make a big bet on the turn, but the turn card came a king. The king's a really bad card for me to continue to bluff with because he could very easily have 3 kings there. So if I bet again, it really doesn't make much sense. Like, I probably check a lot of hands there anyways. I check a lot of big hands. So I decided to check, and he checked behind. At that point, I put him on like 2 jacks, 2 queens, somewhere around there. My plan was to bet it pretty big on the river, but the river card made a queen, which made my hand playable. So like if he has 2 jacks or 2 tens, I'm gonna beat him. If he has 2 aces, I'm gonna lose the pot, but I have a lot of showdown value with my hand. So I decided to check it, and he checked behind.
I know he tried to bluff me. I don't know, I checked.
And my queen was good. I got lucky.
No river, no fish.
You know, a lot of times you bluff hoping that they fold, but sometimes you bluff and you get there. And sometimes you're actually bluffing with the best hand also. And in this particular time, I bluffed with 3 outs against him, and I got there.
Rivering 3 outers is a good way to make $100K in this game, but it also helps to know what you're doing.
You gonna play the rush with the straddle?
I still, and when I'm plus, I'll straddle every time.
All right.
Actually, you're
binding.
I give you.
So when it's your money, you'll straddle every
Aren't
time.
you plus?
No, I'm just, I mean, you know.
I give you some good advice though. You're better off straddling when you're down.
Exactly. When you're plus, you need to sit on that stack.
No, you don't need to sit on it, but.
No, I only straddle every time if everybody straddles. Right now, I'm not gonna straddle. But if everybody straddles, I get a little chips in front of me. I'll straddle with you.
Come on, Troy, everybody's doing it.
Barry is raised with a pocket pair. Action folds to the straddler, who calls.
To say Rahim's a big dog would be an understatement. He's like Marmaduke.
Check in the dark.
Rick checked in the dark, 5-ace-7 on the flop.
Barry's got the best hand, but somehow Rick still manages to flop a draw while completely dominated.
Barry bet 3,500. Rick called.
Check in the dark.
Checked in the dark again.
Rahim's trying to get cute with all this checking in the dark, but I don't think it's going to work on a guy like Greenstein.
Board pairs on the turn, and Barry checks
Check.
with the lights on. King on the river.
The 7 wasn't a great card for Barry since Rahim routinely calls with any pair.
Rahim reaching for chips and bets 10,500.
10,000.
And Barry called.
You win.
Yes, a pot of more than 34 grand.
Barry decides 2 6s wasn't worth a value bet, but did have some showdown value.
It was a great flop for me, but it never improved.
Barry's seen more than a few river bluffs at this point from Rahim. He knows he's got a better than average chance. He's firing with complete air.
So Rick Rahim lost that pot, but he is currently tied with Viffer in total pots won at 31%.
The reason Rick's losing is because he's been bluffing so much. Literally everyone is calling him. Viffer, on the other hand, has had the goods when he's been getting involved in hands. Bottom line, even though they are tied in pots won, the difference between Viffer and Rick is about 150,000 right now.
Is that your straddle?
I'm sorry, I thought it was my blind.
I'll give you the extra 100 if you want. The extra 3. You want to straddle? There you go.
So Rick donates 300 so the loose cannon can complete the straddle.
Nice, but also Rick Rahim is finding new ways to get money into the pot. He's negative EV in this hand before the cards are even dealt.
The loose cannon is straddling. Pocket sevens for Viffer. Calls. Barry folds. Antonio. The big yawn, and he's out. Same for Chau. Rick's in. Suited connectors for Troy Howard. Checks. 3 to the flop.
Viffer limps with his pair while he's got Rick and the loose cannon involved.
9 Jack 7. Viffer flops a set. Rick checks. Troy checks. And Viffer bets 2,000. Rick folds. The loose cannon calls.
This is a pretty dicey spot for Troy.
Get him, Troy.
He's finally caught a piece of the flop, a pair and a gut shot. He's pretty well crushed unless he hits his gutter ball.
6 of hearts on the turn, and Howard checks.
Troy just picked up a lot more outs. He's now open-ended with a flush draw.
Viffer bets 3,000. Troy quickly calls.
Troy would love to see a free card there. Viffer wants to make sure he pays the draw.
Deuce on the river.
It's the deuce of bricks, actually.
Troy checks. Viffer fires 6,000.
This is a relatively small bet in relation to the size of the pot. It's a value bet. Viffer most certainly wants a call.
And Troy does call and sees the bad news.
Whoops.
Man, that turn was a hell of a turn.
Man, you make some hands.
That's free.
Viffer's happy to keep stacking his chips up.
Pair, a flush draw, and a straight draw, all on the turn. Not that good, though. Nice hand. 7,000, I fold.
Whee! The Vifster.
I told you I'm a lucky man. I live in Las Vegas. I get to play with Antonio. I mean, what could be better?
Welcome back to Las Vegas, where the loose cannon ship is beginning to take on water. Right now, Troy Howard sits at a deficit of nearly 40 grand, more than $100,000 behind the leading loose cannon, Nadia Magnus, for that North American Poker Tour passport.
I did not come here to bluff Barry Greenstein.
But you did it anyway.
It was a good play while you were here.
But you did it anyway.
No, I'm just saying that it's winning is why I came here.
I came here just to get a date with Amanda.
Isn't that nice?
I don't like your chances.
You're a couple million short.
That's not nice.
Not nice, but I don't see her volunteering to go on the date.
Chau, king 7 suited, raises to 1,100. Rahim folds. Troy on the button. Ace 9 suited.
Last time Troy had ace 9 of spades, he called and then folded for 10% of his stack.
He calls. Viffer folds. Barry Greenstein, king jack. Calls.
Troy's a slight favorite heading into this flop.
10-9 Trey. Barry checks. Chau checks.
Troy flopped the best hand, and he's got position.
Leads out 2,500.
2,500.
Barry's got 2 overcards and a gut shot.
And Barry makes the call. Chau folds. So from 3 on the flop to a pair on the turn, which is the 5 of diamonds. Barry checks.
Troy's still out in front with his pair of 9s.
And bets 5,000.
Okay.
And Barry's out of here.
Decides he doesn't want to chase his straight anymore.
And Troy picks up a little cash.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thought he was gonna push me right there. I said, yes, yes.
Troy won that hand, but I'd like to see him start getting more active before the flop. He's calling 36% of the pre-flop raises, which is the second highest at the table, behind Rahim, who's off the charts at over 50%. It's no coincidence that the two guys who are just calling the most pre-flop are amongst the biggest losers.
The loose cannon folds to get us going this hand. Suited connectors for Viffer. Raises to 1,200. Buries out. Antonio, he's been quiet as of late. And will remain so.
Okay.
Chau folds.
I thought we had an agreement.
What's that? If there's a king or queen on the flop, I fold. That's the agreement. You can count on that.
The flop. 5 tray 4.
I can't fold this hand, though.
Rick checks.
Rick's got the best hand with ace high. He also has a gut shot draw.
Viffer bets 1,000.
Isn't that less than you bet on pre-flop?
Rick calls.
Viffer's got a gut shot as well.
Another 4 on the turn.
Rahim picks up a flush draw to go with his ace high.
Somehow I know you're going to beat me again. I'll play small ball with you.
3,000.
Rahim bets 3,000. Quick call from Viffer.
Congratulations. I'm sure you're going to hit the river. Whatever,
No river, no fish.
Whatever you may need, I'm sure you're getting there.
10 of spades on the river.
Check.
Rick checks.
5,000.
Viffer bets 5,000.
Rahim's got the best hand. Tough for him to know that, though.
I don't know how I can miss every draw I've had tonight. I fold. Nut flush draw, straight draw, everything.
Man, that guy would never pass so easy for you, this game. Easy game for you.
Hey, listen,
I flop a set every time.
Show me, I don't believe you. It doesn't matter if you had 2 pair or set 1 pair. I was either going to beat you or I wasn't.
So Viffer has made a believer out of Rick as that bluff puts him up almost 135 grand. Barry is the only other player at the table showing a profit. The loose cannon, Troy Howard, lost 10,000 more on the night and is now down 35K.
It's pretty simple. If Troy wants to walk out of here with any cash at all, he's going to have to get more aggressive.
Okay, that's the end of another night. While Viffer is running over the table, our loose cannon Troy continues to struggle. Tune in tomorrow to see if his fortunes will change or whether his dream will come to an end. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now, and remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. See you next time.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you tomorrow night.
You're down 25,000.
I'm down 25,000, but that's completely acceptable and normal in a game this big, you know, to this man who is a sick degen.
If the money lasts, the luck will come.
The preceding program was sponsored by PokerStars.net.